Good evening. My name is Thurman Greco, and the name of this show is Let's Live with Thurman Greco, and it's coming to you from scenic downtown Woodstock, New York, and also from YouTube channel Let's Live with Thurman Greco on YouTube. So this afternoon, I'm going to talk about the tarot. I've done that about 4 or 5 times in the past, and today my focus is going to be on the pages, which they are court cards. And I'm going to start off by once again telling you a little bit about the person who painted the cards, because I use the Rider-Smith-Waite tarot deck. And that deck was painted by Pamela Coleman Smith, and she was an artist in New York City. She was a graduate of Pratt. She was a member of the Order of the Golden Dawn, so she was very, very tuned into the occult. And the reason I'm talking about that is because the pictures that she drew, that she painted for her deck, they've gone out to millions and millions. I honestly think that there are more tarot decks, copies of tarot decks painted by her than there are people. There are just so many decks, and the symbolism in the cards is amazing. She had a very intimate knowledge of the symbolism and the occult, and she used her training and she used her experience in the cards, which makes them extremely informative. And I tell people when I'm teaching the tarot, if you get ready to learn about the tarot, whether you have a teacher or whether you're studying by yourself, the art in the deck is very, very important. Now, my teacher had me start with this deck. This is the beginner's deck. This is the Pamela Smith deck. But this deck I use because I think she was the real deal. She did the best, and I love it. So this is the deck that I use. And we have covered several of the major arcana cards, and now I'm going into the court cards. There are 16 court cards. There's 4 pages, 4 knights, 4 queens, and 4 kings. And they each have a different story. The court cards represent actual people that we know. I know very often if I am reading cards for someone and we do a spread and there are 1 or 2 or even 3 or even all 4 court cards in the deck, I'll ask the client, I'll say, well, what do you think about this? And she'll say, well, I know this one. This is my nephew, and this is my daughter, and this is my sister. They know who the people are. So court cards do represent actual people that we know. They have their qualities, they have their energy, they also represent the jobs that they do, but the court cards can also be yourself. So there's a lot there. When you do a spread and a court card shows up, there's a lot in that card. However they speak to you, if they speak to you as a relative or a friend or as yourself or someone else, they challenge you. They encourage you. I notice, and they advise you, I notice that when people start connecting with the court cards, they're challenged. You're challenged to think about, well, what is that card, and what does it say, and what does it do, and how does it work? So that's that's a very important thing. I'm looking for the court cards now, and I'm gonna focus on the pages today. I'm gonna do this, and we'll hone in on these in a few minutes, but that's the Page of Wands. And then we have, and I'll go ahead and bring out the others if they show up. There's a Queen and a King, and then we will do, so there's a Knight, and there's a King, there's a Page of Cups, and a Page of Pentacles. We're looking for the Page of Swords. So there's one in each suit because there are 4 suits. There's a Knight. There are 4 suits in the deck of cards. And they each one tell a story. So when you look at, if you do a spread and you see court cards, there's a lot there. And there's something there, it's not just superficial. So now I wonder where my Knight of Wands, I still don't have, there it is, the last one, the Page of Swords. But however they speak to you, however they make you think, whatever challenge they offer, they play a role in the spread. And they connect to the question that you asked, they connect to the layout, and they connect to the other cards. So they're not isolated unto themselves. They are social cards. They are connected to their environment. And based on the circumstances, based on the question, based on the person, the shuffle, the spread, whatever, they may or may not be male or female. They can be either one. And when I first studied the tarot, the court cards were, if it was a king, you were a man. If it was a queen, you were a woman. If you were a page or a knight, you were not female. That's not the case anymore. I've been doing these cards long enough to where that's changed. Society has changed that. Women can be the king, men can be a queen, and knights and pages can be male or female. And it's very interesting how and of course we're talking about pages, but I did mention kings and queens. It's very interesting when I do the spread of a woman and she is playing a role in life. She has a job, her place in the family is that of a leader, then she becomes the king in the cards. It's very, very interesting how that works. And so the court cards do several things. First of all, they are a person that you know. They can be yourself. You can, I talked about the king, but as a page or a knight, you can see yourself in that card. Each one of these cards has a very distinct message. And they also have a spiritual voice. So here they are. The card is a person. It is an archetype. It's a personality type. And of course, that gives them credibility with the major arcana, because the 22 major arcana cards are archetypes. And people who sometimes are going through therapy will be connected with the archetype energy, so that you don't think of the Page of Wands as an individual, you think of the Page of Wands as a type. And personally, when I do a spread, I do think of a court card as individual. I don't think of a court card as an archetype, but they are there, and it does reveal itself that way in the spread. But when the spread is first out, I think of the person. And I think it's very interesting. You know, one of the beauties of the tarot is there isn't one person who is in charge of the tarot. There is not one person who answers all of the questions in the tarot. There's not, it is a body of knowledge which draws deeply on your spirit and your heart and your brain. And that is the brain and the heart and the spirit of every person that touches tarot, either as a reader, as a teacher, as a person who paints a deck, as whatever your connection with the tarot is, you are embodied somehow in the tarot. So there's no one truth. If you are reading, for example, a deck of cards, if you're reading and you are a new reader, or if you are reading for yourself and you're a new reader, you may pick up a card and say, oh, this is the Eight of Pentacles. This is blah, 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 blah. And then you may stop and think, now wait a minute. Last week, this card came up and somebody else said something else, and I blurted out this meaning today. Your meaning is just as valuable and valid as anybody else's. No one person has control of the tarot. There are people who teach the tarot that are very engaging. They give seminars, they give classes, they give presentations, and they have vast audiences, and they write books, and they do all kinds of things. But those people, that person who does all of those things, does not own the philosophy of the tarot and does not own the philosophy of reading cards. So you can do whatever you want. And I know years ago, I do not do reversals. And years ago, I was reading cards for somebody, and she was just beginning to study tarot. And right away she said, well, now what, this is a reversal. And I said to her, well, I don't do reversals. And it just kind of shook her balance there for a minute. It was like, wait a minute. And what was happening was the teacher was teaching reversals. And then when she told me the name of her teacher, I said, well, she doesn't do reversals either. She's teaching you the reversals. That's a method of teaching. And I think it complicates the spread, so I just don't do it. So that's one of the main messages that I have of the tarot, is that everybody who touches the tarot and talks about it and writes about it has an opinion. And that opinion is just as valid as mine and yours and anybody else's. It's an equal world out there. And some people who write about the tarot are very complicated. They have an unusual voice. And one of them is a man that I love his book. It's called The Bible and the Tarot, and his name is Gil Stafford. He's an Episcopalian priest, and he must have, where he lives, he must have a class that involves reading the Bible and reading the tarot at the same time, side by side, which I think would be fascinating. I would love to take it. But in any event, one of the things that I think that has as much validity for us as it did for him, as he put it in his book, as it did for the teacher. He had a tarot teacher that said, when you get a deck, you open the deck, you go to the court cards, you separate them from the deck, and you throw them away. So I thought, wow, a deck with no court cards. Well, for that person, for that tarot reader, that tarot teacher, court cards were just adding to the confusion or whatever, and he didn't like them, so he just said skip them. And we also have a thing in tarot that where we talk about a significator, and that is the card which sets the tone and of the spread, and different people use different cards. And this year I am going to be adding an oracle deck, and we'll choose the significator, and then we'll work from the tarot cards, which is very interesting. And to talk about another teacher is Courtney Weber. If you read tarot for yourself, her book is really, really interesting. So far, she's the only one I know who really has focused an entire book on reading the tarot for yourself, which is very, very different from reading it for someone else. So we're going to get back now to the pages. They are the youngest ones in the court cards. In other words, you're looking at somebody who's young in years, in maturity. And a page is someone who does not have an awful lot of responsibility, because a page is in a learning mode in life. And they're starting from scratch, and they don't have a lot of life experience. So that makes your page young. And the youth, the innocence, the newness, the originality, that's what gives the wisdom to the page. Because the page offers things, blurts out things, believes things, does things, and they're a surprise. And pages, they have much to teach, they have much to share, but you need to give them attention. So when you see a page in a spread, I recommend that you pay attention to that card. And also, a page can be either male or female. And when a page comes into your life, think about someone who reminds you of the page. That will give you a personal connection. So that can be a child, it can be a student at school, it can be someone in your group, in your neighborhood block, it can be someone young. And a page shows up in your spread to give you encouragement, to say to you, don't give up now, just keep on going. And the personality somehow fits into the spread. Very rarely have I done a spread and a page has shown up and all of a sudden I realize you don't fit. The page always seems to fit. You need information, you need advice, you need encouragement. And as an archetype, he's a type, and I'm going to read about an archetype in a few minutes. But also, a page is a spiritual influence. He offers you a healing opportunity. He offers you an opportunity for your situation. And a message always brings, the page always brings a message. So the page allows you to see life in a new way. because it's this fresh attitude that you see. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a page of wands. Now, if you look at the page of wands card, the page of wands card shows a very calm background, and it shows a wand or a staff that has little leaves coming off on it. So that means the person is growing and things are beginning to happen. And the page is not sad, the page is calm. This is a good beginning. So the story that I have for the page, a page of wands sat down at my table in a coffee house one winter afternoon. A petite young person, this page had enough gorgeous hair for 3 people. The long, thick curls attracted everyone's attention as he walked in the room. And frankly, I didn't know whether I was looking at a young man or a young woman until I saw his mustache. Certainly, the thick, long curls were not going to tell me. It was the most beautiful head of hair I had seen in years. I think I'm at a crossroads and I want to know what might be a good way to go. The different life paths he described were all uptown problems. It was obvious to me this young page manufactures opportunity every day of the week. A student at an area university with grades to die for, his life was just beginning. As we discussed his options, it became clear that whatever he chooses to do, his path will be energetic, creative, and positive. And one thing is sure, as he travels on this journey through life, he gives us each a gift as he touches our lives. He shares his free spirit, and we will all have a good time. And he lit up the whole room, and it was just obvious that he was just beginning on his life story. So that is a page of wands story. He has massive potential, and he's at the beginning of the journey. A page of cups. Now this is another one. Now if you look at the two, you'll see the colors are different. You'll see the backgrounds are just as positive. And this is really important. When you look at a card and you look at the background and you see how calm it is, you don't see thunderclouds, you don't see storms, you don't see conflict in the back. You see instead this clear background. That's what a page has. A page is very positive that way. But notice the different colors. This one has a lot of pinks and blues. And also on this one, if you look at it, the ocean is calm, the water is calm, the beach is calm. So that's a page of cups. And the page is also holding a cup that has a fish in it. So that's a very good story. That's about, a page of cups is all about magic and lightheartedness and sensitivity. If that page is in your age group, there might be romance there. And this page of cups is a divine message. How do you see this page? What is this page saying to you? When you get a page of cups, you have a divine message. And here we have, let's see, this is the page of cups. When a young woman sat down at my table, I knew I was about to spend time with a special young soul. I'm here on vacation with my parents, she said. We're just here for a few days up from the city, and I'm curious about how things are coming my way this year. I found myself to face with someone creative enthusiastic, and experiencing opportunity. Mostly, I saw a youthful person who, for whatever reason, was exploring life as if there had been little or no yesterday. She was obviously intelligent, and she was a very high achiever. She hasn't experienced much responsibility, so her talents are developing by themselves as she goes along from day to day. And this is very important. One of the big things about a page is that they really have not had responsibility. And you can't develop if you don't have the experience. With her enthusiastic promises, her future promises will have a positive cast. She's on her way to take control of her situation, but still has much to learn and discover. Meanwhile, she got a crush on life. I mean, life is wonderful for her. It's filled with possibilities and inspiration. Whew. So she was the perfect embodiment of this card because she had not had any responsibility. And you see that in these young people. Now, let's go to a page of swords. If you look at this card, you're going to see clouds in the sky. In these other two, you had a very pale blue background, and this one's got clouds. He's kind of looking behind him, and but he still has a very casual path that he's on. He does have great potential. This could be a woman or a man, but in either case, the Page of Swords is a leader in training. This is a person who is going to be in charge of something at some point in her life. And that puts her in the warrior category because she hasn't reached a point where things are edited yet. So her questions are very raw, they're very fresh, very open, very surprising, and very bold. And she's exploring reality. And that's a kind of a different attitude. Exploring reality and experiencing reality are different things. And so, but even though she's a leader in training, she is not always male. You can very often be female. And one of my favorite Page of Swords is a young woman whose name is Darwin. She's curious, she's intelligent, so she's always looking to study and to think, study, think, study, think. And she's at the university. You know, her friends have graduated from the university. She's still there. She's still studying. She's still taking every physics class that's offered, every chemistry class that's offered, everybody, you know, she's not, she's on the 8-year plan or something, but that's what she's after. And her cause is the environment. She's taken these classes that I can't even understand how you spell the words, but she is studying the environment. And she's clear thinking, she's dedicated, she knows how to take useful information and work hard and make it pay off. She's a straight A student. Her brain works hard for the cause while she's charming, clever, and adorable. And she's such a wonderful conversationalist. Darwin loves all animals and she communicates with them. I tell people that Darwin was born knowing animal communication. And truthfully, she was born with many talents. Darwin's chosen cause is the environment. Clear thinking and dedicated to this cause, she knows how to make useful information and work hard to get it to pay off. Darwin's brain works hard for the cause, all the while charming and clever. Personally, I think we need more Darwin pages of swords in the world today. When they mature, wonderful things will happen. And then, of course, we come down here to the Page of Pentacles. The Page of Pentacles is serious. Very special young person, has a lot of common sense. A Page of Pentacles. Have you ever known a child, a young child, and said to yourself, you know, when this one grows up, she's going to be blup-de-blup? Or when this one grows up, he's going to be blup-de-blup? That's a Page of Pentacles. Because even though they're 4 years old, they're looking around, they're seeing this is what happens, you grow up and you get a job. They've got it all, they've got it, there's a curiosity that some of the other pages do not have. And they take their information very personally. And that includes even saving a little bit of money. And I met my favorite Pentacles, Page of Pentacles, when I was going through a career change in my 50s. She and I were both doing the same thing. We were both learning everything we could about dogs. The difference was that I was 50-something and she was much, much younger. It was summer. I was learning canine massage and interspecies animal communication, and she was a fellow student. One thing here, I have to give her parents credit. They responded to their daughter's needs, especially at that young age. They knew somehow she had managed to tell them, I'm not going to go through school like everybody else on the block. And she was every course that they could find about dogs, that kid got it. I mean, she got the whole thing. And none of it was going to get her into any college. None of it was going to get her a college degree. None of it was going to get her even probably a high school diploma. But I'll tell you, when they got through with it, by the time their money ran out, she was very, very well trained. And it was a good move on her parents, first of all, to be perceptive enough to realize that they had this young tomboy who was interested in these things, and to help her to pursue this. She was a talented communicator. Her excellence stood out. She was this was a good thing to happen to her at this time of life. And you know, I wish more parents could allow their children to go off whatever. I guess they realized that at some point she would come to her senses. I'm not sure that she ever did. She was the youngest student in the class and I was the oldest. She spoke about upcoming classes with animal training, grooming, companion animal massage, and all these things seemed to be on the edge of the mainstream of her community. It made sense, for sure. No university was interested in her at that young age. This meant that by the time she was an adult, she had a head start training with her career. And although I have not heard from her or seen her in years, I'm sure she has experienced unique and wonderful opportunities. And over the years, I've thought of her often. Mostly, I think of her when I see her brother and sister pages when I visit a veterinary clinic. It's really true. Through the years, once I went to the dogs, I've had jobs in veterinary clinics, teaching, canine massage therapy and working with the animals and doing different things. But I would see these young people working in these veterinary clinics. They had to have a job. They were young adults. They had to pay the rent. And yet they were not going the mainstream way. It was very, very interesting. And I think that's pretty much it for the pages and for the pinnacles. What I would like to do is give you a meditation. Let's do a meditation. How about? Okay. We're going to do a meditation now. So if you can relax yourself in a favorite private place, your body will feel more relaxed as you straighten your spine. Begin, so it does not matter at this point whether you're seated or whether you're laying down somewhere. The thing you need to do is get relaxed and feel safe. Begin slow, deep breathing, inhaling slowly and deeply from your abdomen. Exhale now, also slowly and deeply. Continue to take several more deep, relaxing breaths and release them slowly and easily. With each exhale, you become more relaxed and at peace. Toxins and tensions release with each exhale. Begin to experience a very peaceful feeling and deep relaxation. Open your eyes now and find yourself in a beautiful garden space. In the center of this small space, you see a rug, and you walk over to the rug and you sit. You get comfortable on this small rug, and you notice that it's moving. The rug you're sitting on is lifting off and floating upward. You ride this carpet up above the trees and rooftops, gently gliding into the sky. You find yourself floating with puffy clouds. As you float upward, you look down and you see houses, trees, and buildings. They're becoming smaller and smaller, and the sun warms your skin and your body. You look around you and you see the earth as a large blue ball. As your carpet carries you upward, you observe the outside world from a distance. You feel a new relaxation that you have never felt before. This is a deep feeling of belonging and interconnection among all living things. You don't feel isolated. Instead, you see yourself as an important part of the whole. You feel that this connection involves a contribution you are making to the world around you. You are connected in a way that you have not been aware of. As you continue rising, you see the earth as a ball of light. You see something that you have never seen before. You sense now that your carpet is slowly descending and returning toward earth. You begin to see clouds and then mountaintops. As you continue descending, you see treetops and buildings. You see roads and you see countryside. Returning to the space where you began this trip, you feel you are returning relaxed, free, and prepared to embrace your responsibilities and obligations. Take a few deep breaths now and become aware that your body has been energized, rejuvenated, and free. Open your eyes, take a deep breath, and embrace your peace. Thank you. And thank you very much, Ellen. This was lovely. I really appreciated this opportunity this afternoon.
Thank you, sir.